overcoming adversity is certainly something you have done and something that all of us have to do at some point in time. When we talked about this a month or so ago, you gave me this quote, and I love it. And I have thought about this a number of times in so many different ways. And it says, just because you're in a storm doesn't mean you're in the wrong place. What does it mean?
You know, early on when I was really trying to figure out who I was, and I go back to maybe early 20s when I was wrestling with a lifetime of being an overachiever, but coming from a place of fear. And then suddenly coming to a decision where I said, I'm not going to let fear dictate what I do in life anymore. I'm going to let purpose drive that. I'm going to figure out what I'm put on this earth to do, and I'm going to do it. Even when I made that decision, it didn't mean that everything suddenly became easy and that there were no challenges in life. And I'd reached this utopia where, I'm just living this purpose-driven life and everything is rainbows and glitter and it's all fabulous. The minute something bad happened, the minute someone, challenged me or said no or said something horrible about me or to me, it made me at first shrink back and go, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I'm in the wrong place. Maybe I missed it. And maybe I'm, things are not going perfectly. Maybe I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And sometimes there is, a reason to pivot in life. But just because some challenge comes up or things seem like they're falling apart, that does not mean that you made a bad turn. That does not mean that you are not right where you're supposed to be. And you're supposed to learn and grow from that. And if we don't go through storms, we don't grow and we don't realize that we can get through them and get to the other side. And so that's what I challenge any of my players or anyone that I mentor. If you're dealing with a rough time in your life, if everything seems to be falling apart, don't make that question what you made a decision to do in your heart. Go back to that. And that's what I always say, have an anchor. Make sure that you can go back in the middle of that storm. You can go back and say, I know that the decision I made and where I am in life is based on, not just based on circumstances, but based on faith and belief that I'm right where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And if you can go back to that anchor of hope that anchors your soul, then you're not going to get tossed around. You're going to get through that storm. You're going to come out stronger on the other side, and you're going to keep persevering. That's an experience that has played out in my life over and over and over. And it really comes back to anchoring your soul in your purpose.
I'm going to ask you how we find our purpose in just a minute. But before we move on from the adversity topic, you mentioned, an overachiever. And I think there's a lot of us who can relate, right? We always feel like we are striving. And sometimes that's good. And sometimes that becomes exhausting. Why is this particularly important for folks who are performance minded and high achieving to see adversity as a benefit, not something to avoid?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be excellent. There's a big difference between just that constant perfectionism or overachiever mindset that keeps driving you. I would say this, go back to what is driving that. Why are you striving to achieve? And if that's coming from a place of fear or negative, that you're always worried about letting people down or not being enough, you're going to continue to strive for the rest of your life in a really empty and dark place. Go back and replace that fear side of you, the fear that's driving you, with a deeper calling and a deeper purpose. And I think for me, if I had stayed in that fear mindset, when those storms came, when those adversities came, when I was told by someone that I looked up to and admired that I would never be successful in the business that I felt called to, if I'd still been in that fear and perfectionism place, I would have questioned everything. I would have questioned myself. I would have been beat down by that. Instead, I was able to rise up and realize, someone telling me I can't do something, I'm not going to question myself about it. I'm not going to go, he doesn't believe in me. I'm so sad. I'm going to say, I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to learn, okay, how can I overcome this? How can I be stronger? And for me, it all really came down to that. It came down to fear versus purpose.